Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Welcome once again to Hang On Supi, presented by Scarlet and Gray Sports Radio. I'm your host, Caleb Supi Spinner, and today I have the honor, the privilege of talking to one of the most decorated athletes in the history of Ohio State, an Olympian, a six-time individual NCAA champion at Ohio State, Blaine Wilson. Welcome to the show. It's a true honor.
Glad to be here.
So I got to talk to you about this because I was up late last night and the past couple nights watching videos of you at the Olympics and in your Buckeyes uniform. I'm not coordinated enough to be a gymnast. I will never be coordinated enough to be a gymnast. So even more, I was thinking, wow, this is impressive. So I have to just say I am in awe of everything that you can do.
Thank you. It could do. I'm done now, but it was fun. We, gymnastics is great for all kinds of stuff and agility, coordination, and it was fun. I'm glad I'm done now and teaching.
You could probably still do a backflip, and I've never been able to do that. So
I can still do one of those, but I don't do it I do it very rarely.
Special occasions. So I got to start at the beginning because your career has so much in it. I got to start at the beginning. I think that's the best place to start this. Who or what inspired you to become a gymnast? Who got you into it?
It's kind of ironic. I just fell into it. Literally, I grew up and I broke my parents' couches. I was all over the place, and then my dad's like, I need something, for this kid to do. And he put me in a local YMCA, gymnastics program. And it started from there. I was like 3.5, 4. And, I excelled at it and I stayed in it. And then, eventually, my coach that was there at the time, he started to do his own gymnastics facility, Columbus Gymnastics Academy, a long time ago. And he said, I want to take your son with me. And my dad was like, he didn't know any better. He said, okay, fine. All right, he can go. So that's how it all started.
Surprised that the career that started off breaking couches didn't turn into a WWE career.
I did enjoy WWE. I still watch it on occasion, but yeah, I'm surprised it didn't either.
Breaking tables, breaking couches, same thing, right? I got caught breaking a couple of things on television, during my career, but it's not always a good thing. Breaking tables, you're either a WWE athlete or a Bills fan. Who knows these days?
That was brutal.
So you began your career at a very young age. And I know a lot of the most successful athletes are, they start off young and they get into it. How much do you think, your career was benefited that you got into it at a young age versus trying to pick it up as like maybe a walk-on in college?
Yeah. Gymnastics is a very difficult sport. And I have met very few athletes that get to the Olympics or to the caliber that it takes to be to get there. That started that late. I can only think of a couple that even started 8, 9. But it's difficult and it's very beneficial to start younger. And as I said before, there's a lot of different athletes that started doing gymnastics when they were younger, but ended up doing different sports. And it's great for speed, agility, flexibility. And it's all around good for your body. So,
and I'm a big supporter of getting into either you yourself getting into or getting your kids into athletics and sports at a young age, because as I talked about in the first episode of Hang On Supi with Sean McCarthy and Alexa Miller, the sports teaches you so many things that transcend the world of sports. It teaches you teamwork, showing up on time, responsibility, discipline, all these beneficial, habits that benefit you down the road. And as we talked about in that episode, how those lessons that they learned through college athletics benefit them in their professional lives now. So getting involved in that, sure, it made you a great gymnast too, but also probably taught you a lot of those things at a young age that maybe the couch breaker wouldn't have found out on his own without sports.
Yeah. prioritizing things. I played a lot of different sports. I didn't just do gymnastics. I played baseball. I played basketball, soccer for 11 years. And, I was as active as I could possibly be. And I enjoyed it. My parents enjoyed it. And they took me everywhere. And, gymnastics just took a little bit more. You really had to follow the rules based on the fact that, every day that you're doing something, you could really injure yourself if you're not paying attention. And the coaches, stay on you about that. And it basically taught me to go one thing at a time. I see my sons right now, and they want to go from 0 to 10, and they want to skip everything in between. I'm like, you don't get there like that. You can't just come in one day, say, I want to learn a back tuck, and you got it, the next second. It doesn't work like that, especially, with gymnastics. So you got to be patient, and you got to stay with the program and trust the process. So.
Yeah, and you're right. The high level of injury, I think, contributes to how patient you have to be. If you go in, like you just said, if you go in right off the rip, and if I showed up to integrity gymnastics or integrity athletics, which we'll talk about in a minute, and said, I'm going to get up on the uneven bars and just do a routine, I'm pretty sure you would look at me and go, okay, you're going to break something, so let's get the ambulance here.
Yeah,
like there's got to be.
Yeah. First, I'd have you sign a waiver, and then I would let you go ahead.
Right. Of course. If the ambulance is there, we got to make sure you're not legally liable for it.
Yep,
but yeah, you get what I'm saying, right? I can't just go in and do something. It's got to be the practice to, lift and build the muscles to do that. And then training for the technique to do that.
Yeah. It's just like, just like any other sports. If you're not putting in the time and the effort in order to move forward, and to learn things correctly, as I said before, everybody just wants the end product. They don't want to put forth the in between to get here. And with gymnastics, you can't do that. It doesn't matter what you do.
So we talked about how much work it takes to be a gymnast and excel in gymnastics. Was there ever a time, especially, when you were younger, was there ever a time where you thought the work might be a bit too much for you to handle?
Yeah. I split a lot of my time. Gymnastics took a boatload of my time, but there wasn't. I played, as I said, I played baseball, I played basketball, I played soccer, and my gymnastics coach used to get upset. He's like, I know you have a lot of talent. He said, but you can't be missing all these practices to go play these other sports. And I said, but that's what I want to do. I want to be well-rounded. And you got to put in a lot of time for this sport. And, just before I entered high school, I made that decision, and I was like, you know what, done with everything else. Gymnastics it is.
There comes a time when you got to discern, I love all these things, but what do I really want to excel at? If there's a time where you have to cut out 3 things to get, to be the best at one, sometimes you got to do that.
Yeah, you do. And I'm a firm believer in, hey, a well-rounded athlete. Yeah, play as many sports as you can, but when it comes down to making that decision, especially with gymnastics, a lot of people can't be a Deion Sanders and play football or Bo Jackson and can't play football and baseball. For gymnastics, you got to pick it, and that's it.
And of course, your decision to drop those things in favor of gymnastics paid off. You found massive success at Ohio State on the men's gymnastics team. Tell me about why you chose Ohio State and how you figured the program differed from the others that you looked at.
Well, I'll make a very long story short. A very good friend of mine, Jason Whitfield, I actually was going to be an Iowa Hawkeye. We had a pact, myself and a couple other athletes from CGA, and we were gonna go to Iowa, and he was gonna be first. And he ended up passing away in a motorcycle accident before he even started at Iowa. After he passed away, the core group of us decided, there was 5 of us, and we all decided to go to Ohio State, and that was going to be it. That happened the beginning of my junior year. And as it goes, we all went, and history is, it is what it is. It could have been way different, but, I'm a Buckeye through and through, born here, raised here. So that's how it ended up that way.
And that's just fate leading you on the path, right? I mean,
It is.
Who knows what your career would have looked like at Iowa?
No, yeah, exactly. And that's exactly, it's pretty amazing how things work. So, but yeah, I never look back at Ohio State and never look back.
So, like I said, you found massive success there, but that doesn't mean that the road was easy all the times. I got to assume that there were some challenges. And again, mentioning that first episode that we did on Hang on Supi, we talked with Sean and Alexa, and they were always, things that they struggled with, but the key part of their story is that they got through it. What do you think was the hardest part about being a college athlete, and what advice would you give incoming athletes on how to handle that and go through that challenge?
I think the biggest thing for me is that you have to create your own structure. When I was at St. Francis de Sales and, in high school, and you were required to be, in school from this time to this time. And then you had your time outside to figure out your homework. Man, when you show up in college and it's like, what do you mean I don't have to go to school for 7 straight hours? I get to make my own, schedule. You gotta be kidding me. And it's freedom that comes at a price if you're not paying attention to it. And I would say to these young athletes, hey, when you show up, get help, ask questions, ask a lot of questions, take advantage of, and things have changed since, I was there, but take advantage of the tutors, take advantage of, any of the programs that your college has. And then prioritize. If, and I have to honestly say, I went to school. I love gymnastics. I went to school for gymnastics, not necessarily for school. And a lot of people look at that and go, what? Yeah, I did. I went there and I was like, you know what? I'm going to make the Olympics. I'm going to make the changes. I'm going to do the things that need to be done. And, my freshman year was a little rocky. And then, after that, I just kind of figured it out. So, don't be afraid to ask questions, but at the same time, graduate. I mean, it took me 17 years to get my degree from Ohio State, and eventually did. So graduate was the best feeling I ever had.
And while at Ohio State, as you're maintaining the college work, as you're expanding from national competition to eventually international competition, you won 6 individual NCAA championships. I'll say that again because I don't think people heard that on the first time and gotten as impressed as they should be. 6 individual NCAA championships. Right now, you have as many individual championship rings as Tom Brady has Super Bowls. Okay, that's how impressive that is. Also winning a team title in '96 with the Buckeyes too. What would you most accredit your success to, both individually and then as a team? Is it the program? Is it, an experience that you had in high school that changed your mindset to do something? What was it?
No, I think as far as myself, I've had great coaches. I had great coaches up to that point and continued to have great coaches after I left Ohio State and went on to train at the Olympic Training Center. But my coaches were great. They had plans. They had, schedules. What am I going to do this week? To the next week? Miles Avery, Peter Corman, they were the coaches at Ohio State when I was there. And Pete always, he was always on me. You got to pay attention. You got to do this. If you want to move forward, you need to do this, and this, and we got to start here. And then on top of that, you got to, I don't know, you got to trust your teammates. Looking back, all 4 years, I trusted my teammates every single time. So you just got to trust them. That's all there is to it.
That's part of being on a team is trusting them. A lot of, colleges, you'll hear them say like our team is a family, and trusting is part of the family. That's what it is. Gymnastics is an individual sport, almost as individual as you can get, but that still doesn't mean that you don't have to trust your teammates just because, at the end of the day, you're the one on the rings alone, or you're the one on the uneven bars alone.
Yeah,
you still have to trust them and rely on them that they're teaching you the right things. They're helping you during the workouts and doing the right things that they should be on and off, the mat.
Yeah, you do. You have to, no matter what. It doesn't matter. And once I was done with my job, I mean, it all depended on them, and there's nothing you can do about that.
And that's the same thing with me. I was a track athlete, so I absolutely get the individuals, but then working to be part of the team. And, the team score comes from the individual scores. And so wanting to be your best and helping each other be their best, that's the sign of a good program. That's the sign of a good athlete. It's a sign of a good team. And I'm glad you had that at Ohio State. After proving time and time again with those 6 NCAA championships that you were the best in the college, you began your journey to prove that you were the best in the world by competing and qualifying for the 96 Olympic Games. I will never be an Olympic athlete. I think that's fair to say. I'm still 19 years old, but I think that's fair to say that. So I will never go to Colorado Springs and qualify like you did. So walk me through what it was like competing in the Olympic trials and what went through your mind the moment you found out that you had qualified and made the team.
It's funny. Went through the process with two of my buddies, Drew Durbin and then Kip Simons. And I think the most nerve-wracking thing wasn't qualifying is by far qualifying for the Olympic Games is the most stressful thing. Once you get to the Olympic Games and you don't have to qualify anymore, then you're like, I can let it all go, But for me, I knew I had a good chance, and I knew that I was going to be, among the top 2 or 3 guys, just based on after 96 championships where I won. I knew, barring an injury, I was going to get on that team. I think the most stressful thing for me for that particular time was knowing that Kip was right on the edge of making it or not making it. And man, every single time he got up on a piece of equipment, my eyes would close. I'm like, oh my God, I hope he makes it, cause you have you put so much time and effort into this with other athletes, and you want them to make the team. And that to me, that was the most stressful thing. But once again, I don't want to come off arrogant, but I knew I put in the work in order to get onto that team. And I was very confident with that. I don't know how to explain it. It's a very stressful situation, especially if you're on that bubble. You're on that bubble and you don't know if you're going to get on the team. And it could be very stressful.
And that's not being arrogant at all. I mean, that's, what my dad said when we were on college visits, and he kept having to basically cattle prod me to talk about myself and tell these colleges what I'd been doing. We call that a humble brag. So you put in the work. I've watched the videos. I'm not a gymnastics expert, but I can see clearly from how muscular you are, how good your form is, and then listening to the commentators who do know what they're talking about, I can tell you put in the work. So if that was an unsubstantiated claim, if you had said that you put in the work and I could clearly tell you didn't, then I would say that's a bit of an arrogant attitude. But no, you put in the work, good sir. And I can tell that. I can tell. Can you tell I'm impressed by what you did?
I appreciate it. I had a good role model. I mean, the person I learned the most from, John Roethlisberger, I saw that guy before I started college. I watched him get super mad at an NCAA championship, and he's probably going to get mad. I'm saying this, and just body slammed a table, no doubt, and tossed a chair. And I was like, that's my guy. That is my guy. I want to be that intense, and I want to be that mad if I miss something, knowing I should have made it, and that intensity. He just taught me, hey, if you're going to walk out of a practice and that last turn was worthless, he goes, you didn't do anything to help yourself today. And that was the work ethic. He's like, you need to take more turns. You know why? Because somebody else is probably taking more turns than you. So that's just all there is to it. and then I took that to heart, and it made me who I was. I couldn't take, even if it was a bad day, you got to get up and make it work. It doesn't matter.
We have a motto that was taken from Ohio State football, and we use it in our family: E plus R equals O, event plus response equals outcome. I'm sure as a Buckeye, you're not a stranger to that, but that's what it is. That's the controlling your response kind of thing. If you know the event was bad, if you know you messed up the turn, how are you going to respond to that? And I think that's, something that championship caliber people and champions do, is they respond to their outcome the right way, and they respond to their event the right way, and make a great outcome. Now, I have to talk about this as a little bit of a side note, but talking about your international competition, I heard your coach made you tape up your ankle to cover a tattoo that you had of the comic book hero, the Tick. Now, for those people who aren't fluent in comic books as I am, and don't know the Tick as much as you do, the Tick is a superhero, but he's not as mainstream as, say, Iron Man is or Thor. So I gotta ask, what is the story behind that tattoo?
When I was younger, my dad and I, we just happened upon the cartoon, and it was hysterical. I mean, absolutely hysterical. We like stupid humor, and that's what it was. And, I sat there, we watched it for a while. And then, as I went into college, I was like, you know what? I'm getting a tattoo. I wasn't allowed to get one when I was at home. I'm in college. I can do whatever I want to do. And so I drew the Tick, and I decided to put OSU in his hand, and I ended up getting it, I think when I was a freshman, and he came into practice one day, and I was like, oh, I'm in deep trouble. I even covered it up in practice so he wouldn't see it, just my dad. He eventually ended up seeing it. He was like, yeah, I don't have any problems with it because the Tick. He's like, stop. I don't want you to get any more tattoos. We all know that didn't work. But then when I fast forward, we get to the Olympic Games, and my coach, Peter Corman, he's like, I think you need to tape that up because other countries might frown upon the fact that you have a tattoo. Lo and behold, I tape it up, cover it up, and now you look around, these guys got arm sleeves, their backs all tatted up, and I just started laughing. That one little tattoo in 1996, it's just amazing.
I didn't know you drew it. I think that's even cooler, is that you drew the tattoo. I wanted him a specific way. And, I can draw. That's one thing that I'm not good at math, but I can draw. And, I decided I changed him up and put him in the position I wanted, and put a OSU in his hand, and guy took it right on, slapped it right on the ankle, and done. They rebooted that show. Do you watch it on Prime? The new Tick show that they've had?
I've seen it. I like the cartoon better, but I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of the Tick.
I had to bring that up. I heard that when I was watching one of the old videos of you. I think it was when you were doing your floor routine.
Yep.
And I want to say it was 96, but regardless, I was watching a video. The broadcaster brought that up, and I said, okay, add this to the list of things I have to get an answer to.
It was 1996.
By the time this is done. 96. Okay.
Yep.
I thought so.
I think it was Al Troutwig. No? I forget. It wasn't Troutwig. I can't remember his name right now. John Tesh.
Let's fast forward now a couple years. I'm not a big fan of math, so I'm not going to do 96 to 2004. But in the 2004 Athens Olympics, you and the U.S. Olympic team won the silver medal. Since I've never been to the Olympics, and as I mentioned, probably will never be unless it's as a commentator, tell me what standing on the podium and receiving arguably the most prestigious award in all of sports was like. What was going through your head? What were you seeing? Walk me through that.
I mean, for me, it was surreal. I mean, it took me, everybody assumes that you show up at the Olympics and you get a medal. I'm going to show up, I'm going to get a medal. And that's not the case. I mean, there's a lot of athletes that go and the creed is to participate. That's what the Olympic creed is. It's all about the participation at the Olympic Games. But as a society, we only measure it as, well, if you come home with medals, then, that's the most successful part of it. And that's not. It's actually getting there and the amount of athletes that you see there. And for me, as I said, it took me 3 Olympics to get 1 medal. That's for me, it just shows perseverance. I couldn't take it. I needed to go back. And, I look at John Roethlisberger, my idol. He ended up at 3 and never ended up getting a medal. And I was like, man, I can't. I'm not going to be that guy. I can't do it. But I tell you, in the end, I didn't cry too much as far as my career goes. Even getting injuries or anything like that. But man, if I could have got a hold of my dad, it would have been a hot mess. This guy, it was awesome. And he hadn't missed a meet in decades. But actually standing on the podium, it felt so good because there's so many different countries that over the years that were like, the U.S. is not good. The U.S. is not going to do anything. And man, there's a lot of people that said, oh, you were second, not first. Man, second, first, third, I don't care. We ended up with a medal, and that's the way I looked at it. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing.
I'm coming home with an Olympic medal. I don't care what color it is.
And there's a lot of people that are like, oh, did you get first? No, man, it's not always about winning, and I even though I say that, because there's many competitions where I was like, if you don't believe that you can win, then you should probably go sit in the stands. And that's the way I took everything. Even the Olympic Games, I was like, I don't care what any of these people say. There's a poster downstairs at the bottom of my basement stairs. It says, at any given day, at any given time, anything great can happen. And it's basically, that's the way I looked at the Olympic Games.
I like that.
And it's crazy.
Also during those 2004 Olympics, you competed. This I think is a testament to what we were talking about with the E+R=O, is you competed after having suffered a torn bicep and, still won that silver medal. So how did overcoming this injury to compete on the biggest stage of international sports, I don't think there's any problem saying that, how did that teach you about perseverance and show you that you could overcome adversity at the highest level?
Well, there's what's crazy is I had a lot of injuries, during my career, and, injuries are all what you make of them. And, I don't know. I wasn't going to let an injury get in the way of what I wanted to do. And I think the biggest thing for me is that who was it? Tim Daggett. He said, if Blaine Wilson's bicep is torn, I think his Olympic dreams of medaling are over. And I watched the broadcast of that, and I love Tim. Tim and I, banter back and forth. That was like, oh my God, you don't know anything about me. All this time, I was like, are you going to seriously count me out? And that was it for me. I called up James Andrews. I was like, Dr. Andrews, I need to get my bicep put back on. He's like, I know, I saw it. Get down here, and flew down, he attached it and flew back. And, I was like, how long, when can I go? He said, you just need 6 to 7 weeks or 6 to 8 weeks. And he goes, then it's all out. Do whatever you need to do to get on that team. Listen to your rehab specialist. And he goes, if it busts again, come down. I'll see, you did your best, come back and I'll fix it again. That's the way I look at it.
I think that's awesome. Your doctor was encouraging that. That's awesome.
Yeah. James Andrews, he did all the pictures, did all the other stuff. He reattached one of the tendons in my right shoulder that snapped, my supraspinatus. So, I trusted that man with my life. And the minute he gave me I need 6 to 8 weeks and then go, I was like, Mom, look out. I was in lifting weights or doing whatever I could. I went to the gym, did whatever I could there, went to rehab, and then came back.
Tunnel vision of making that team.
I did it daily. So.
And then, of course, that competitive spirit doesn't die off when you eventually retired from competition. You made the decision to become a coach for your alma mater. Who approached you about the Ohio State job? Did you, approach them? Did the coaches say, hey, we need some extra help? And what led you to accepting that position?
Well, it's funny because I came back from California, and unfortunately I was going through a divorce, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to make a comeback. I was bored. I was like, yeah, I'm going to make a comeback. So from 05, 06, like 05 in that era, somewhere into, I decided I volunteered, assistant coach, and I was working out at Ohio State, and I was like, you know what, maybe I'll make a fourth Olympics. Maybe I'll go for 08, and I was going to be 34 in 08. And I'm like, so I started training and ended up, obviously not making it. I was done. And then Miles Avery approached me after the 08 Olympics stuff was over and said, what do you think about being a coach? And I said, I'm in. Absolutely. I am in. So that's how it all started.
Just like that, right off the rip, there wasn't any consideration. That was just.
Well, I mean, from 01 to 04, when I came back to Ohio State to train for the Athens, I was a volunteer assistant coach for all 4 of those years. So I traveled with the team, I did some other stuff with the team, but I wasn't a paid coach. So I was a volunteer for an extended period of time. So, I mean, and then Miles was like, hey, we got an opening, let's go. I said, great, I'm in. And ironically, that's how I ended up graduating. Ohio State said, in order to be a coach here, you need a degree. And sure enough, back to school I went.
And of course, there would be nothing wrong if you had decided that in a second. I just think it's cooler that in only a short amount of time, you realize, like, I love Ohio State. I want to give back to Ohio State. I love gymnastics. I love my alma mater. How can I give back to that? First the volunteer, and then as the full.
I was a volunteer for, a very, very long time. And I always wanted to work for Ohio State. I thought it would be cool. And at the time there was no openings, and I wasn't sure exactly how that was going to roll. And then sure enough, when as soon as that opening came, Miles Avery was like, you're in, you're the guy. And I was like, absolutely.
So now talk to me, because we talked about, you going back to your alma mater, but something in your head must have said, I'm not done yet, because then you went on to start Integrity Athletics in Plain City. How did you get that idea to start that?
It's funny because one of the guys, one of my business owners, I grew up with him playing soccer, John Brooks, for years. Years. And he was always talking about we need to open our own business. Also, Randy Klein, who was a former, actually from here, went to Upper Arlington, ended up meeting him in California, lived in my back house. And then we always talked about starting a business. He's like, well, let's, I told him I was moving back home. He's like, let's figure it out. So, when I got back here, there was a lot of talk, and we finally didn't close the deal until, it was the 08, the beginning of 09. We found an existing gym that was going to be, they just wanted to get rid of it. And we all decided, you know what, we're going to do it. Let's do it. Put in the money, do what we need to do. And that's how it all started. We just talking and figuring it out. And that was the best thing I ever did. I always pictured, and I've been coaching for an extremely long time. I started coaching at age 21. I'm 46 now. And I always wanted to give back. And that's the one thing I could do is I had a lot of knowledge and I was, not tooting my own horn, but I was pretty good at coaching. And I knew that I didn't know everything. So I just picked stuff from every coach that I ever had, or from different spots, and even people that were never Olympians, or didn't coach Olympians. Man, I just took it all and sucked it all in, and then I use it today to coach the kids that I coach. So I'm blessed. It was awesome. It's been awesome.
And that desire to coach, once again, speaks to how much you loved the sport, how much gymnastics meant to you, that you wanted to give back, and you wanted to inspire the next Blaine Wilson to love gymnastics with all their heart and all their soul and all their body. And that's
that's
something special.
Yeah. Without gymnastics, this man wouldn't be sitting right here talking to you about, it's amazing. Who knows? What if I would have said, you know what, I'm going to be just soccer. That's all I'm going to do is play soccer. And it's funny how people's past, whatever you pick, it molds you as a person. And, I think I picked the right path. So,
yeah. Well, without gymnastics, you'd still be breaking couches.
Yeah, exactly. WWE. There you go.
WWE. There you go. You start wrestling The Rock is what happens. That's the other alternate reality that goes that way.
Yeah, that would have been real bad.
The Rock would wish that he was as good as a wrestler and as good of an athlete as you were. So the last thing, I'll leave you with this. So much of your career has been full of challenges, but also experiences. And I'm a sports journalist. I truly believe that experiences, what you know, is more important, is the most important thing in my industry. So looking back at everything you did, the national championships, the youth gymnastics, the international competition, what were the 3 biggest lessons, or if there's 2 or 1, but what were the biggest lessons you learned during your career, and how do you teach those lessons to your athletes?
I've been asked that quite a few times, and I think the biggest thing that I tell everybody is enjoy the journey. It's fast. If I blink my eyes and I'm 46, and it's like, wow, where did it all go? And if you don't take the time to open your eyes and look around and enjoy what's going on, before you know it, bam, it's gone. And you just have to, you literally have to take deep breaths and look around and say, man, I'm here. I standing there waiting to get that medal in Athens. And I just remember looking around the entire arena, just taking it all in, just like, holy mackerel. And I can close my eyes and I can think to, when we walked out in the Georgia Dome in 1996 and 50,000 people screaming, chanting USA. And it was like, wow, this is amazing. And it's just taking the time to enjoy and enjoy the entire experience. And it's not always going to be good. And so with the ups and downs, you learn from them. They're speed bumps, man. And take the good with the bad and learn from them both. And that's what I try to tell these kids. It's never life or death. Gymnastics is a sport, just like any other sport, and treat people the way you want to be treated, because that's all there is to it.
In other words, life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop to look around once in a while, you could miss it. Yeah,
it's quick, real quick.
Love that quote from Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Exactly. That's one of my favorite movies.
Oh my gosh. The line about Cameron and the diamond is another one of my favorites. When he's at the pool. I can't repeat it on the show, but I love that movie. I love that movie. Blaine, it was an honor talking with you. Like I said, beyond impressed with everything that you were able to do. It's amazing to me. Thank you so much for coming on and talking at the show.
Caleb, my honor, man. My honor.
And I have to put this on record. I brought this up at lunch today when I told him that I was about to interview you. Bradley Butch one of your former students who was there for about 5 years, I think he said, was very familiar with you, had nothing but good things to say about you and how you taught. So that speaks volumes to the kind of teaching that you're able to do and the kind of coaching that you do at Integrity Athletics.
Thank you. Thank you. Great person.
Make sure you're staying up to date with the show on Instagram at HangOnSupi. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel. The podcast goes up every week on a Wednesday on scarletandgraysportsradio.com and on the SGSR SoundCloud page. And of course, you can watch the weekly episode on YouTube and Instagram TV on Fridays. There's always something to keep you involved and entertained with Scarlet and Gray Sports Radio. Make sure you're staying up to date with everything that we offer. We'll see you next week. I'm Caleb Spinner from Columbus, Ohio. That's the show. I'm out of here.